I've been playing with the Google Pixel 5a camera for about a week now, and I'm obsessed. So this is your complete Google Pixel 5a camera review and comparison. Is the Google Pixel a better camera than iPhone? Trust me, you're gonna wanna watch to find out. Hey friends, I'm Tasia Custode and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I share tech tips, app reviews, and a ton of Google content. It's a real kind of love, me and Google. And I am so thrilled to tell you that I was gifted a Google Pixel 5a to play around with and review just for you. And I know what you're thinking, and no, this is not a sponsored video. I swear they didn't even ask me to make a post or video or anything. I'm just gonna give you the true lowdown, the ins and outs, the good, the bad, when it comes to the Google Pixel 5a camera. Plus, on top of doing a complete Google Pixel 5a camera review, I'm also going to give you a camera comparison between that and my iPhone 11 Pro. It's a battle of the cameras, the Google Pixel 5a versus the iPhone 11 Pro. And only one can win. But seriously, we have a lot to cover, so let's go. First and foremost, we're going to handle the camera review and the camera comparison. Now, I'm highlighting the camera specs and we're diving into portrait mode, night sight, wide angle, zoom, video, and more. And we're gonna dive into some extra modes and features and cool things you can do with the Google Pixel 5a. And then you know what's coming, my final verdict. Who has the better camera, the Google Pixel 5a or my iPhone 11 Pro? So there are a ton of camera specs you can compare, but I'd rather just give you a quick overview of the 5a and then show you the differences. The Google Pixel 5a features a 12.2 megapixel dual pixel rear camera, plus a 16 megapixel ultra wide lens. And let's not forget about the front facing camera here. She's got an 8 megapixel front facing camera. I told you that was just going to be a really quick overview, but those specs are important to keep in mind, especially as we start comparing the differences between the 5a and my iPhone 11 Pro. But if you do want the full range of specs, I linked to the camera spec page from the Google store in the description below. But now that we have a quick overview of the camera specs, let's dive into portrait mode because there is a lot to cover here. And just so you know, every single image and video that you see today has not had any editing done to it. I didn't do anything after I snapped the photos. I didn't touch any settings in the cameras before I snapped the photos. I really wanted you to get a feel for if you just took this girl, the 5a, right out of the box and started snapping shots, what it would look like. So I took a few different portrait mode pics with the Pixel 5a as well as with my iPhone. If you aren't familiar with portrait mode, it's the smartphone camera's ability to make an image look kind of like DSLR quality by creating a greater depth of field. So your subject will be nice and crisp in the foreground, and then the background is going to be blurred or a little bit out of focus, just as an example. I absolutely loved the Pixel's portrait mode. I'm really happy with the quality of the photos, and honestly, you'd be hard pressed to tell too much of a difference between my iPhone 11 Pro. But if we nitpick, there are a couple differences. First, every single thing I shot with the Pixel 5a has a much cooler tone than anything I shot with my 11 Pro. You're gonna notice that actually as we go through all the examples in this case. And second, if we really get even more nitpicky, we can see a slight variation in the difference in the effect and how it has framed my fingers here in this shot, for example. So do you see how it kind of blurred a little bit of my finger? Honestly, I'm really picking at this portrait mode. I could have just reshot that and I guarantee you it wouldn't have happened. So that's what I did. As proof, here is another take of that shot, just with me closer to the camera, and look, it's perfection. I said it before and I'll say it again. I love the portrait mode. Now, while we're on portrait mode, let's talk about some of the great effects you can do with portrait mode, and we'll start with portrait blur. Just like you can with iPhone portrait mode, you can adjust the blur amount of your portrait, which is nice if maybe you don't want it to be so dramatic. But you can also adjust your depth too, and you'll just tap anywhere on the portrait itself to adjust that focus too. But wait, there's more. The Pixel 5a features something called Portrait Light that allows you to adjust the light around your portrait to make it look more professional. Check it out. I will pick this portrait photo here, and do you see how the light is kind of naturally kissing my one cheek like this right here? Well, maybe I want to adjust the light and in this example, add some light to the other side of my face. So I'm gonna go back into the edit option and back to adjust, and this time I'll pick Portrait Light. Do you see this circle appear here on the screen? Now, if you use your finger to move the circle around, check it out. Check how the light changes as you move that around. Oh my gosh, can you believe? And you can even adjust the strength of the light. Look at how the other side of my face is now lit. How cool is this? I am living for this. It's almost too good. But I will gather myself because there are so many other cool effects and features in the 5a's camera edit settings that I want to talk about a little later on. But for now, let's focus back on some of the main camera modes. And specifically, let's talk about night sight. Oh man, I was actually really blown away with this. Check this out. So take a look at these pictures of what else? My dog, Poppy. The colorization is really nice considering these were all taken at night. So the living room ones, it was really dark in my house actually. I just had one light on behind me and then like the glow of the TV. And this outdoor one here was right after the sunset. Check out the comparison of this exact shot after sunset to my iPhone 11 Pro. Holy guacamole. The clarity, the brightness, the colors, it's just too good. Your subjects are going to be rich, and night sight lightens and brightens the shot without making it look washed out or losing the quality or really like the essence of that time of day. So to me, the 5a blows the 11 Pro night mode out of the water, no contest. But the 5a has something else up its sleeve when it comes to night sight, and that's night sight plus astrophotography setting. Yeah. So this is yet another feature that will happen automatically, and to use it, it's pretty easy. You just have to place your 5a on a tripod or a stand so that it's a still shot and there is no movement, and just simply point your phone to the sky. Now, the moon symbol on the shutter button for night sight will change to stars, and you're going to be informed that you're now in the astrophotography mode. And then you just tap the shutter button and voila. The Google Pixel 5a will start to take an epic night sight shot of the stars in the night sky. So I will fast forward this a little bit. It was a couple minutes that it took to do this shot. I took 2 shots here to show you, and there is literally no comparison here to the 11 Pro on this one because as well, you saw the quality of the night mode on the iPhone. There's no additional feature for that astrophotography. Now you have to keep in mind, I quickly took these 2 shots in my backyard at night. So you can imagine how great it would look where, you know, somewhere like Sedona where there's a light ordinance and so it's like darker there, or say you're shooting the Aurora Borealis or something. It's just beyond. I can't believe how it lit up the sky like that and kept everything so clear. I was also in a 2x zoom when I took this one shot. So that's pretty amazing to me. I'm once again blown away. So let's move on to the wide angle lens on the Pixel 5a. Once again, surprise, surprise, this is one of my favorites. The ultra wide angle on the 5a automatically corrects lens distortion for you. So it produces very crisp images. The colorization is nice and clear. There's nothing fuzzy or funky happening. It is a beaut. And of course, just for comparison, let's show you these same photos from the iPhone 11 Pro. Ooh, Yikes, oh Lord. You can instantly see the downgraded quality of the image. It's almost blurry, nothing is crisp. Gosh, it's just not a clear photo, period. And there's a clear reason for this. You may remember from my quick camera review specs at the top, that's because the Google Pixel 5a has a slick 16 megapixel ultra wide lens, whereas the iPhone 11 Pro, we're working with 12 megapixel wide angle lens. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. And the Google Pixel 5a ultra wide angle lens, that's some pretty good pudding. Now I want to touch a little bit more on the zoom functionality. The Google Pixel 5a maxes out at 7x zoom. So I've done a few little tests here, comparison going to the max and kind of like halfway to the max so we could see the difference. So it's best to run some comparisons again, and the Pixel calls this their super res zoom, and like I said, it maxes out at 7x, whereas the zoom on the 11 Pro actually maxes out at 10x zoom. So you can see the Pixel 5a almost looks fake, kind of almost like a drawing, right? Like it's really clear though, but I did the same test at 3.5x zoom too with my kitty Dora, and again at the same photo of Dora at 7x zoom. Now you can see some definite differences between these cameras here, but I've gotta say, I think I have to give the edge to the Pixel 5a again. The agave picture, if we go back to that, I was easily 30 feet away when I took that, just for reference for you. And then these pictures of Dora here, I was about 10 feet away. And it is really sharp considering how far I've zoomed in. Okay, the last of the main cameras I want to touch on is actually the front-facing camera. If you remember from those quick specs earlier, the 5a has just an 8 megapixel front-facing camera compared to the 11 Pro, which has a 12 megapixel front-facing camera. So what did I do? I compared them for you. Here you can clearly see the iPhone's front-facing camera takes more detailed snaps. I mean, obviously, given the difference in the camera specs. So you'll notice like more imperfections on my face here just because of the clarity, as opposed to the 5a, it's almost softened a little. But honestly, it's not like I'm majorly disappointed in the front-facing camera on the 5a. In fact, I'm not disappointed at all in this case, to be honest. I mean, sure, soften my skin for me. But really, you can see here in these couple different shots, it still snaps great front-facing pictures. Okay, I lied about the front-facing camera being the last main thing we talk about when it comes to the 5a, because I do want to touch on the video quality too. Can we say Stunnalina? Doing a quick comparison again, I shot both of these in 4K at 30 frames per second. Now, obviously this video you're watching is only 1080p HD, but I just want you to get the idea of the quality of specs that I used here. Now you're gonna notice both cameras deliver amazing quality. I love them both. Like all the things we can do with our phones now, I mean, come on. But you may also notice that the Pixel 5a clip is a little bit of a better automatic colorization. Like I mentioned at the top, just with everything, I kind of like the more cool tones from the 5a. And you may also pick up that it produces a slightly smoother handheld video that's not quite as shaky. And that's because of the built-in stabilization. And this leads us right into some of the other great features that are built into the Google Pixel 5a. And you guessed it, we're going to start with video stabilization. There are actually a few to choose from. The standard mode is what you just saw with the clip of Dora, but you can lock it off for still shots or switch to active for more movement, like if you're running around or something. Or you could even switch to what they call cinematic pan for cool sweeping panning shots. And the 5a does a really great job of showing us examples of what these modes look like on and off so that you can compare, which I just love. This way, users can get an idea of which mode to use and when to use it. So the cinematic pan slows down the phone's panning movement for a more cinematic, smooth shot. And you can actually see the difference of a pan without that toggled on compared to the same shot with it toggled on. Both were handheld, and clearly the cinematic pan has really slowed and smoothed my movements without losing quality. Freaking amazing! Yes, more please! So as promised, onto some more cool extra features found in the Pixel 5a camera. Something else I really love is their dual exposure controls. So every time you snap a photo, you can actually adjust both the brightness and shadows separately, which can be really handy for difficult lighting situations. But of course, there are other cool built-in features that I love. Say hello to color pop and color focus. These are some really cool effects to make your photos really stand out. So for color pop, on your beautiful portraits or any photos you shoot, just tap on color pop in your edit settings, and would you look at that? Instantly, it picks out your subject and pops that in color while adjusting the background to black and white. Gosh, I just love this so much. Think of all the fun you could have with this. Now, color focus, on the other hand, allows you to adjust the colorization using a slider and adjust where the color is focused. But we are not done with the coolness yet. Oh no. You can use Google Lens to search for products right from your photos or anything you point your camera to. So to do this from a photo, simply tap on Lens, and look, Google in all its godliness instantly provides me with matches for the shirt I am wearing in this photo. Wowza. But as promised, you can do this right from your camera app too, by heading to Modes and selecting Lens, and then tapping the shutter button to pull up similar products. A gift from the Google gods indeed. Another feature I absolutely love is called camera coaching. And to explain that best, I'm going to show you that too. When you go to take a photo, you're going to be given tips to help you improve your photography. So it'll automatically tell you to try a different camera mode or hold your camera at a different angle, and it'll even tell you if your lens is smudged. Hello, people! This is not a drill. Something else I love about the Pixel 5a is actually the display. And I know this isn't a camera feature, but the display is so bright and crisp, and I love the cool tone of it. Plus, it features a high brightness mode that keeps the display super bright, even in direct sunlight. So now, after the world's longest video on the Google Pixel 5a camera, it is finally time for the verdict. What do I think of the Pixel's camera? Do I think it is better than the iPhone camera? The short answer, yes. The longer answer, yes and yes and yes. But seriously, nearly every test I put this camera through, it not only held its own, but it actually outshone my iPhone 11 Pro in a lot of areas. I was actually really surprised. Really, the only aspect where it didn't knock my socks off was with the front-facing camera, just in being that it isn't as high resolution, but to me that is one small thing. It's a non-issue, and here's why. The Google Pixel 5a produces stunning, crisp, ultra-wide angle photos and stellar night sight shots that right there would be enough to put it over the edge for me. But what really blows my socks off is the additional features found in things like portrait mode, where I can adjust the portrait lighting and the color pop and color focus features. My socks? Consider them knocked right off my feet. Because the 5a was otherworldly in so many areas, this is now my go-to camera. I know. I'm just so impressed. And if you guys remember from the beginning of this video, everything you saw today, all the photos and videos, I didn't change any settings at all. I never edited anything afterwards, didn't touch any settings in the camera itself. It's just too good. So just imagine what these photos could look like with a little bit of editing. Ooh, baby, it's like almost too much. Now, because this video is so long already, there are actually a lot of features I didn't even touch on. They were cut for time. Things like live HDR and panoramic mode and slow motion video and so much more. So if you want to get all the full specs on the Google Pixel 5a camera, be sure to check out that link to the camera specs that I've put in the description below. So what do you think of the Google Pixel 5a camera? Are you as obsessed as I am? Would you make the switch? Let everyone know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, well, I want to know. So give it a like, a share, or leave that comment below. You can click right about here to subscribe to my channel, and right here, and here for even more Google content. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Just love you so much. What a ride. It's a real love, me and Google. It's a real love, me and Google.